Hey everyone, Weasel here. Welcome to the channel. So, two quick preambles before we get into the interview with Gary. First off, this interview was done on February 3rd of 2024, and it is now the middle of March of 2024. So there has been a month delay of releasing this video. So a lot of our thoughts may have changed regarding certain aspects of MetaZoo, and certain information may be a bit outdated in the and the second information or the note that I wanted to make was that this interview was delayed in being released because myself and another content creator called Fizggig, we were going to make a documentary called The Rise and Fall of MetaZoo, where we would go through the timeline of MetaZoo, what MetaZoo did good, what they did bad, and so on. And this interview was going to be taking like snippets of it and put it into the documentary. But since that documentary is no longer going to be moved forward, at least for now, we thought that it would be prudent for us to release this interview with Gary though still, just so that everyone could see our thoughts about the whole MetaZoo shutdown situation. So please leave a follow to Fizggig's social media pages and also Gary King Pokemon's. I'll leave their information in the video description below. And with that, without further ado, let's get right into the interview.
All right, it's recording. Are you okay with recording?
Sure.
All right. So we are going to have this in a documentary. So I just want to explain it just a little bit. So me and Piwizo, we are basically kind of like a neutral level party when it comes to MetaZoo. We're trying to convey MetaZoo, negative things and positive things, and we're just trying to explain the story about MetaZoo to everyone, pretty much. And then we kind of reach out.
It's been a couple years, but I actually used to watch you. So
oh, really?
I watched you when you were in the MetaZoo, then I watched you when you were, and it's a long time ago when you got out.
A year and
yeah, so I actually used to watch you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. You following me.
Oh yeah.
It was me and Jody. I don't know if you remember Jody, but me and Jody kind of worked together with metazoohq.com.
Okay.
Early database.
The early days. We kind of did the MetaZoo hours. We kind of gathered a lot of the information for MetaZoo, and we kind of put it there so everybody can enjoy it, like a set list and lore, and where they're going to be to collect the cons and stuff like that.
Right. Yes.
So I want to first ask you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know there's going to be some people that just don't know who you are. Could you tell us a little bit about Gary the King Pokemon?
Well, I've been a lifelong collector. I was born in 1954, so I'm going to be 70 in March. And I remember back in the early 60s collecting bottle caps of football players, where they had football players' faces inside the bottle caps that you clicked off the Coke bottles. And so I started collecting when I was like under 10 years old. And I kept collecting I started collecting trading cards besides sports. I always had sports, but I collected trading cards in the late 60s, like the Addams Family cards and the Munsters and all those cool old TV shows, and collected their trading cards. And basically, I just never stopped. I just collected every trading card set that came out through all those years. And which is why I have 3 storage lockers in 3 different states filled with that stuff. And, honestly, 90% is worth absolutely nothing. But I love them. I remember every single set. I remember the more difficult cards it was for me to find. I've always been a completionist. So I wanted to complete those sets. And so anyway, my entire life I've been a fan of trading card games, and I have the inventory to prove it. I've never been much of a seller. I didn't like selling anything, and fortunately, I was a little bit older when Magic the Gathering came out and Pokemon came out, so I was able to, buy and keep instead of having to buy, sell, trade. Because I was already an adult, I already had good jobs that I was working in, so I got kind of lucky that way when Pokemon especially came around. So, at least my life as a collector has never stopped. It just continued all the way to this day. There's still things I'm going after, and but most of them were just because I like trading card games. There was no real attachment as far as identifying with anything. Like how do you identify with Pikachu and Charizard, or how do you identify with Mox Pearl, or from the Magic the Gathering early sets? You really don't. At least that was until Metazoo came around. That was something I could identify with because I've always been a history buff, and I've always been into cryptids and things like that. And when I heard about this, I thought, oh my God, this is something that I'd definitely be interested in. So, that's kind of how I spent my, as far as my personal life, I went to school for biological chemistry, went to University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. And right after college, it turned out I didn't care much for the sciences. My parents wanted me to become a scientist. And back in those days, you pretty much did what your parents wanted you to do. But then when I got out of college, I went into retail. I opened up a video television store on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. And that was very successful. And because it was right at the time that the beta VHS videotapes were coming out. And there was a big boom in the video television market back then. So I got lucky with that. So I got into retail. I did have a collectible store in near Columbus, Ohio, for a couple of years, but it was too doggone cold for me. Being a California boy, it was too cold for me there. So I came back into town, back into Las Vegas, where I've lived now. Besides, I did live in Vietnam for quite a while. I ran a resort, a resort right on the South China Sea near Vung Tau, Vietnam. And so, but besides that, I've lived in Vegas this whole time, so for many years. And so, that's kind of, gets us up to, in a nutshell, up to date.
And you had a little bit of an encounter with Pokemon with Logan Paul. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was like 2020 or something like that. Yeah, where he wanted one of my Pokemon cards, and yet he knew I wouldn't sell him any. I knew him before that, but this had to do with the Pokemon. And so he told me he was gonna, come into town, into Vegas, and we were gonna, he just wanted to see some of my collection and, just to talk. And so that ended up being on videotape, ended up being a real popular videotape, a real popular YouTube. And I decided to sell him one card. And to give you an idea, I've sold 2 cards since the Pawn Stars episode in 2000. That was 2016. I've sold 2 cards, one to Steve Aoki and one to Logan Paul. And it was mainly because, these guys have, 20 million followers, and I knew it would help the Pokemon hobby. if I sold them. And they're both, major Pokemon fans. Logan Paul has a Squirtle tattooed on his thigh. And so, it goes to show you. So, they legitimately love Pokemon, and I knew it would get out there, and it would increase interest in the hobby, because when somebody has 20 million followers, I mean, you're going to hook some. Yeah, so that's how it happened with Logan. Now we ended up getting pretty close. He comes, fairly often, and then Steve, I sold the other one to, and the only reason I sold to him, now he was already a friend. He's actually my daughter's godfather, and but he knew I never sell any of my collectibles, but he saw I sold one to Logan, and so he got really upset that I would sell one to Logan, not to him. So then I ended up selling one of the PSA 10 first edition Charizards to Steve too. But after that, no more. I wasn't selling, and I actually had some messages from some people way bigger than Logan and Steve, and I wouldn't do it. So I've stuck to that.
Wow, that's really interesting. Wow. Mm-hmm. So I guess just it's kind of like all related to, I guess, during the pandemic, right? That's everyone got more interested into, I guess, TCGs in general. Like, would you say like it's, I guess, one of the biggest booms you experienced during your time?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. After the my Pawn Stars episode came out, that's ended up with 20 million viewers. That episode. It's the second most popular Pawn Stars episode, segment of all time. So that attracted a lot of attention, and it was released in the beginning of 2017 and filmed in 2016. Pokemon Go came out in the beginning of 2016. So that, along with the Pawn Stars episode, that just blew Pokemon up back then. And now, then with the pandemic, that pretty much blew up everything. Everything connected to collectibles and that.
You remember a situation during the pandemic where people were like fighting over Pokemon cards? Do you remember that on the news?
Sure do. Yeah.
Big bucks.
Kind of like how they were fighting over those Van Gogh Pikachus. That was recently. Now I hear they reprinted about 100,000 more of those.
Yeah, I saw that on the news, to be distributed.
Yeah, that way. I hope that teaches everybody a lesson, especially when it comes to Media Factory and Nintendo in Japan. I mean, if they're making money, they'll print the heck out of everything. Collectors aren't part of their interest.
Oh, yeah, Nintendo is notorious for doing that. They, as you can see, I'm a huge collector here. So, yes. Nintendo with the video games, they're very smart. They're very, very smart. And when it comes to Pokemon and Zelda and Mario, they know that there's so many people that are into those IPs. And so they know that the scalpers are gonna be out there trying to grab them, and what they'll do is they'll spread it. They'll put like a little bit, and then they'll be quiet. There'll be scalpers who are trying to be getting at it, and then all you see is like this huge wave, and then a huge wave, and then a huge wave. And then
that's why the customer base needs to educate themselves and know that that's going to happen. I mean, most of us knew right away that was going to happen. But many didn't, and so they blew up the price of those cars. People overpaid for
them. So we can get to Metazoo here. What was the first thing that got you into Metazoo? Like, could you remember maybe like a video, or maybe somebody was talking to you about Metazoo? Can you explain to us a little bit about that first beginning?
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy. It was all pre-Kickstarter. and so I was already talking to those guys, and talking to Michael, and because as soon as I heard it somewhere, not through a video, but I'm fortunate that people do contact me about stuff, because in the community I'm kind of known well, and so people will contact me. And so I was contacted by somebody, I don't know who, and then Michael sent me some cards. They were actually cello packs with 5 cards inside, and he sent me 10 of those, and I kind of put them aside because I got all the pictures online of what was going to be on the sample sheets, and so I got the pictures I wanted. But I, since nothing had happened yet, they had no money, it wasn't a thing yet. I just kept my eye on it, but I stayed in touch with Michael because, he was, he was kind of in the sciences, and, he worked on Wall Street, and we just got along. And so we talked a lot, and then a couple months later, they were going to have the Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter wasn't, didn't bring in very much money. I can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't much. And I told them, I said, listen, just hang in there. I said, this is an absolute genius idea. And I said that, they can build these, these communities on character, on Diglett, and on these made up characters, and yet you have real cryptids, real characters that people have known about for years and years and years. And I said, this is going to be an absolute monster. I told them, I said, I want to be in it every step of the way in that, because I'd like to complete a couple of every set that comes out of everything that comes out, going back 50 years. So I wanted to make sure I got my complete sets. And then we did some trading with oddball stuff, where I ended up with a couple of sheets, the sample sheets. So I have a sample hollow sheet and a sample non-hollow complete sheet. And it's kind of just, went from there, went on from there. From the very beginning, I loved the concept, and I wanted to, and I always try to support new creators, new TCG creators. I know when D Spirits came out in Sterling, he was such a gentleman, such a nice guy. I met him at Collecticon. And even though I can only do so much myself, I definitely supported him and all the other ones, Cora, and anybody that asked me for help, any of these new folks that ask me for help, I'll help in that, because even if I don't have a personal interest, because it means a lot. It means so much to these people. And to Michael, Metazoo meant the world, to him. I saw his binder, and his binder had 7 years of stories and things written in it that all came out of Michael's head. And I mean, he just flat out loved Metazoo, loved the idea just like I did. And so I got a little bit off track there, but
no. You also mentioned that your kids are involved, right? You have kids, and they're also involved within Metazoo.
Well, my son Devin, he worked with Metazoo, for about a year. In that, he hasn't in a long time now, but he worked with them for about a year, and he enjoyed that time. And that son has a very serious illness, medical problems that can be life-threatening. So for him, Metazoo gave him and Michael, for bringing him on, and that, gave him, reason to be optimistic and to be happy. And so it meant the world to me that Michael would spend, would take that route, to help my son. And so, yeah, he worked with them for about a year. And then his illness, got worse. And so he wasn't able to stay on. So, and then my daughter, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she has autism, and she doesn't, communicate real well, but she liked drawing things that she saw. And so when we were in Roswell, New Mexico with Metazoo, as a fun thing, and she drew a couple of turkeys, and Poncho and Jed, I think, and Afton, they collaborated and added to her paintings, and then they sold them on, I think, I don't know what the site was, but sold them, and they did real well. And so Michael told me there in Roswell that he was gonna, he wanted to use a Kara, on a promo card, and he would let me know. Well, sure enough, about 3 months later, he said, "Listen, I want a Kara. I want her to, get, to draw her favorite cryptid." Is that it?
No, I just I thought it was here. It was it's somewhere. I have too many cards.
Yeah, it's Tahoe Tessie.
Yeah, Tahoe Tessie. Yeah.
And so my daughter drew Tahoe Tessie is a cryptid, kind of like Loch Ness Monster, from Europe. But this one is in the Lake Tahoe, which is in northern Nevada, where we live in southern Nevada. So,
have you been to Rachel, Nevada by Area 51?
Pardon?
Have you been to Rachel, Nevada to go see?
Yeah, never got very close, but I drove in the area. Yeah. And that's always a fun thing too. There's a couple stores that that's it.
Yeah,
nice.
There's a Tesla Tessie. Yeah,
it's really good art.
Really nice.
Your 9-year-old drew it?
Huh?
I said it's really good art. Your 9-year-old drew that?
Well, she drew the cryptid. She drew the Tahoe Tessie. Poncho drew the background.
The backdrop. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why on the card it's a collaboration. It says illustrated by Akira and Poncho.
That's nice.
And so that he kept his word on that, and I was and that's something for the rest of my life I'm going to remember, and for my daughter it's something that she's going to be really proud of, as she grows older. In that,
I bet.
Yeah. So
actually, I think I used that card at Water Tower.
Right.
Because the first Water Tower for Loveland Frogman, I think I had one or two of those I used for my deck.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I also want to say
so she has the notoriety to say that she was the first kid or young person, to draw a card. Later on, Rudy had his sons or something draw little pencils or things, but my daughter drew a cryptid. Okay.
It's very nice.
And so she's up to that point, she was the youngest artist, and so it's that's just a good memory. It's just one of those things that, that's what it's all about. These card games, they come and go. Some of the biggest ones, Xeno, Warrior Princess, and Star Wars, and so many of those card sets came out, and they were gone within 2-3 years. They do come and go, but it's what memories they bring to you, and what memories you can always draw on. Thanks to Metazoo, I'm going to have a whole bunch of terrific, memories that I'll never forget. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what it's all about. I do understand the controversy and everything. I'm not blind in that. But then again, that I'm not involved in that part of it, right? I'm not on the business side. I've never gotten a penny, a penny. He did ask me to work, to work with him a couple times, but I'm too old to, I don't want to go to work. I'm retired. I want to do what I want to do, and that's it. So I've never been involved in the business side of MetaZoo. And yes, I would support them. I am involved in Collecticon. And so I would always go over to their area, to their booths, and sign autographs and participate as much as I could, just out of friendship. But since I'm not involved in the business side, I don't know the inner workings. I don't know, I'm just not much of a help there where it comes to to that side of it. So all of my involvement and all of my memories have been nothing but 100% positive. I mean, had I said something that got banned or whatever, I don't know. I just never say anything. I'm real positive in those ways. I'm a positive person. I was taught, and being an older guy, when I was a kid, I was taught, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I learned that way. And that's true, because what am I gonna gain by, getting angry like it's some of these oddballs that might write bad stuff about me, like everybody goes through that. I don't say anything because why should I? I learned after that thing with the girl, can't remember her name, said that I hated Arita, even though him and I have been to dinner many times. I have 10 signed items. I have one on the wall here, a painting, that he did and that he signed. And here, let me just show you real fast. See that one right there? Can you see that in the background?
Yeah, nice.
Kind of. Yeah, well, that's Arita, drew that and signed it. Anyway, it was kind of early on that I started to get into social media, even though I've been in the hobby Pokemon for 20 years. And so when she said that I disrespected Arita because I said that his signature didn't add any value to this card because it was $1 million card, and Arita signed for $30. So, and I was on a business channel, not on a Pokemon channel. And I said, well, no, his autograph didn't add any value to it. Well, she considered anyway. So I struck back. I should have just ignored it and not said anything. But back then that was the beginning for me, and I didn't know. And so now I know. You get these people saying these nasty things and bad things. For me, anybody puts a negative comment on my Instagram or YouTube, they're immediately blocked. I don't care what. I block them. I don't monetize anything, so it's not going to cost me. I don't need that money. Mm-hmm. So, because I want to keep it positive. I want everybody to do what makes them happy and enjoy it. And so you won't hear me badmouth any of the card games or the business side. Yes, MetaZoo, along with everybody else, has made business mistakes early in their careers, and I feel bad for the people that are taking that have taken a loss up until now. But I also believe in karma. Things are going to turn around. Things just might get better for MetaZoo. I don't have any.
I hope.
Yeah.
I don't have any inside information, although I talk to Michael almost every day, but about things you would talk to your friends about, right? Not about business. And but I'm hoping that it all works out well for everybody, and not every card game can be a Magic the Gathering or a Pokemon. You know, they're not all going to last 20, 30 years, right? 30 years for Magic and almost 30 for Pokemon. That's unrealistic, you know. So in my opinion, you know, besides the political things, and then for the business mistakes they made, I mean, I think it was really successful. And has it ended? Well, I don't think so. I have a very extensive collection of all the most valuable things, and I would not sell a single card to anybody. So, but that's because I love my collections, and even if they were worth nothing, it doesn't change anything about the stories that went along with my, you know, with my accumulating them. So now, yes, I'm in a little better position than most people, you know, financially, and I can feel for those that if they have something that's $1,000, it goes down to 200. Yeah, of course I feel for that, you know. But then again, it's something that's happened to me many times. For me, that's that has taught me a lot of lessons, and I'm really I would not sell if you offered me last month's value for my sample sheets or for my sample sets or for my Kickstarter cases or anything. I would still say no. I would still have to say no because I love that stuff. And you know, when I'm gone, and my kids can decide what to do, but for me, I just love having that. But again, I don't expect everybody to be like that. I've heard Argos might be selling off all this stuff or something, or a whole lot of stuff. I can't fault him. He's got young children. He's the money is a lot of money to a young family. And so, I mean, I don't fault anybody for doing anything that they feel is best for them.
A lot of us are in this hobby all together. We're all pretty much collecting the same. We're collecting the same things. Yeah. We're all in this for at least for me. I was in it to collect. I wasn't in it to sell stuff. I mean, I sold the stuff that I didn't really care too much about.
Right.
The things that appealed to me was Loveland Frogman. You can probably see him right over here in the little corner.
I do.
I kept all of those because that was the favorite beastie of mine. So
yeah.
I enjoy it. I agree with you. I would not sell it. I mean, even if it was down to zero, I just wouldn't sell it. I just, you know, it's something that I enjoy just like yourself. And I think there's a lot of us, I think, kind of feel that same feeling that you do. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, like Argos, like there are people that did invest a lot of money into this and probably want to at least get something back. Yeah. I think I was talking to, I think PB, I was telling him I invested, I think it was like $12,000 into MetaZoo. And for somebody like myself, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot. Yeah.
But I ended up selling the stuff that I didn't care about, right? Kind of like made like maybe like $9,000. So I ended up like coming back like $4,000 lost. But to me, that's worth it. There's memories. There's still the stuff that I have. You have Loveland Frogman, the decks and stuff. I have a bunch of, you know, sheets inside my storage locker. And so to me, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But to somebody else, that probably is. That might be, you know, like 4 months of their rent, you know. So
and that's why you can't fault them, and they shouldn't fault you. You know, exactly. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wanted to sell everything, that's my right.
Yeah.
The problem is I won't. I never have. I still have the things I had when I was 10 years old. You know, 60 years ago. I still have everything.
Yeah, TCG is a really emotional hobby, I have to say. Especially like I kept a few things. Like I got a Kickstarter box there. I got my sample. I got this. I still need to get you to sign this, Gary.
Oh, thank you.
It's your promo card. Like if one day you come to like Fan Expo or some Canadian convention, let me know and I'll be first in line.
I sure will.
Yeah. So just a lot of these things. I'm just like, I was like really deliberating as well. I'm just like, is it even worth selling it? I'm like, there's too much emotional and sentimental attachments. I have such good MetaZoo memories from the past 2.5 years. I'm sure we all have, and it's just really not worth it. And it's not all about the money sometimes. And and also I guess the adage also is like technically you shouldn't invest more money than you can actually afford to lose, because
Right.
especially collectibles, right? Like it's really, yeah, it's really what do you call it? Roller coastery. I forgot the term right now. Yeah.
And I think right now, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or next month, and I am optimistic. I care about those people. I care about Texas Ted. You know, I care about Michael. I care about Pancho, and my favorite artist Pepper LaDuca. You know, who I absolutely love. I mean, those people mean a lot to me, and they've brought a lot of joy, you know, into this old man's life, right? I mean, these are good people, talented people with dreams. And Chris Campman, I'm the one who got him in, you know, into Metazoo, and him and his wife and their kids. I mean, they're just the absolute salt of the earth. I love these people, and so obviously I wanted the best to work out for all of them. They had to make their own choices. They had to make hard choices and do things, and that's fine. You know, they're good, talented people, and there's nothing but you know, good things ahead for them. And as far as Metazoo is concerned, Metazoo is the most genius idea I've ever seen in my life. It's the best idea I've ever seen.
It is a great idea.
Yeah.
And now, plus they got the perfect name. You know, Metazoo is it's on my license plate downstairs on my truck. I have Metazoo. I've got a license plate. They have a great name, great ideas, and were they the best business people? Oh no, you know, obviously not. You know, were they the best at customer service? You know, I think we all know the answer to that. Did they make mistakes? Absolutely. It was a first effort for all of them. It was the very first effort, and I don't think any of those folks were PR or business majors. So you know, they made mistakes, but even through all that, the hobby grew and the interest grew, and the idea is no worse than it was 4 years ago. Something tells me that it's going to be just fine. Somebody else is going to come in that, you know, really knows how to run these type businesses, and I sure hope so. And I hope the artists, are taken care of, and that they're going to be fine. And I hope all, the people that apparently made pre-orders or stuff, and I think some people made pre-orders and they didn't arrive or something. Oh, you didn't? Okay. Yeah. So
not much. Yeah.
So I hope for all of those people, that they get made whole. They get made whole again, and I think that'll happen if the franchise continues. So I'm pulling for that. That's what I think. I think Metazoo deserves it. The hobby itself deserves it, and then the community around Metazoo, they deserve that to continue on, because those of us that have fallen out of that, I'll never get Metazoo again, and that those people can be turned back around if it's done properly. So I'm hoping that'll happen for everybody. I don't want anybody to lose their money. If I could take it over, if I wasn't 70 and I could take it over, I would. And believe me, I'd make it right. And I've run major businesses. I would know what to do. So let's just hope it revives and go from there. Something tells me it will.
It will. So you mentioned that Mike. You talk to him pretty much every single day.
No, we don't talk every day, but we've talked the last few days.
The last few days? Okay.
We've talked 100 times.
We talked more recently, right?
Yeah. And we've done socially, we do stuff together, but nothing with business.
Could you talk to us a little bit about him? Like, how is he as a person? You know, like how, like, a lot of people may not know him too well.
Mhm.
Some of those people might just buy the cards. And how is he, you sitting with your kids, obviously you having a good conversation with him.
Yeah, well, he's passionate. He's passionate about what he loves, which is Metazoo. I mean, he loves the entire thing. He wanted to do everything. He didn't have to make all those promos and do all that stuff, all that extra stuff. It just burned up money. And but he did it because he wanted other people to feel the passion that he felt, that he feels, for Metazoo. On a personal level, which probably there's not really anybody who's interested in that. But with him and his mom and dad, I mean, they're just solid people. They Michael loves Metazoo, so personally, we talk and we laugh and we double date, with our wives or my wife and his whoever he's with. But he's just simply a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He is smart as a tack. He can get a lot deeper into a lot of this stuff than I can in that. So he's probably smarter than me. So
Yeah, I think I remember his parents coming to one of the Collecticons. I think I met his dad or something like that in Florida. But they're from Tennessee. My family's from Tennessee.
So, yeah, I think they're in Florida now.
They're in Florida now? Or they're originally from Tennessee, and I remember seeing that. I'm like, my family's from Knoxville, Tennessee, so I can relate to that.
Can you remember which Collecticon you saw them at? Or did you just see the mom and dad? Because they were at one of the Collecticons where they had, I think, I've seen them besides that, but I mean I saw them at a Collecticon too. I can't remember which one.
It was at Florida.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about this stories as well. Yeah, and people were saying that they were pretty proud and they were pretty like down to earth people as well, and they were just yeah,
very much so. Yeah, very much so.
Well, I guess just like off mic a little bit, but still with like the staff, it's and you did mention Steve Aoki a little bit, because there's a lot of like speculations going on if like Steve kind of started his own like electronic TCG or something with Hero Quest, and we all really love the Hero Quest collaborations. Like the first one was amazing. That one had all the like the original beasties, and then they were just like the zombie form, mecha form. That was like an amazing collaboration. And then there was the second one with like but it had like the Apple sticker and like the YouTube sticker. It had like different social medias. That was pretty cool. But then like the third one, like is Steve still somewhat still interested with Metazoo? I guess like,
well, he's a partner in Metazoo. Yeah, he's 100%. He's a partner in Metazoo. But he has the Hero Quest thing. I think he sprouted off on his own. And yes, I do talk to Steve a lot, but again, it's just a friendship thing. I don't know about his businesses and in that I don't think I've ever asked him about Metazoo. Before he got into Metazoo, I was at his house and I had brought over a couple of Metazoo boxes just because he likes cracking boxes, and it was during the pandemic. And so he had a lot of free time too. And but it turned out at that same time he was already negotiating to get into Metazoo. So
nice, all works out.
So I can't say I introduced him to it because I found out at that early years, that he was already interested.
Yeah, great ideas attract people for sure.
Yeah, and boy, he loves his hobbies.
You mentioned Mike, Texas Ted. I met Texas Ted. Me and him have had some pretty good conversations at some of the Collecticon, not the Collecticon, but C2E2 over here, and he's a great guy. But you,
He is you're right about that. He is an absolutely terrific guy.
he's a great guy.
I've spent more time with him in person than I have anybody else in Metazoo. In that we went to Paris, France together and did a show. We might have went to Italy together and do a show. I seem to forget things. The older you get, the more the easier it is to forget things. But Ted is a terrific man. He's a really hard worker. I mean, seeing him set up those Metazoo booths for, a dozen times, I've seen it. He's a talent. And he loves Metazoo, and he really loves the community. So yeah, Texas Ted is one of a kind. I'm a big fan of his.
And so, did you meet Andy, the president?
Oh,
do you have any
many times, yeah, but always on a personal level. Nothing to do with business. I've known Andy for probably a decade. He was involved in the Pokemon hobbies, and he was on. I think he was on Poke Gym years ago, and on E4, the Elite Forum, years ago. So yeah, I've known Andy a long time, but not in a business sense. But I can tell you this: when I go to collecticons, I like to give stuff away to kids, and so anytime I would go, whether it's Texas Ted or Andy, they would give me boxes of cards so I can give packs away to the kids before they go into the convention. And I would put them on their head, like that. And if they hold it on their head, then they get to keep the pack.
That's awesome.
So Andy would always give me, anything I wanted. He would give me anything I wanted, because knowing that I'm not only trying to, promote Collecticon, but also Metazoo, because I cared about how they did. And I mean, I could go to anybody, they'd give me what I want, if I'm trying to promote them. But I did it for Metazoo because how much I like Metazoo. And so Andy, on that level, yes, but now I don't know anything about his involvement, like when he became president of Metazoo. I don't know anything about that. I don't know about those types of things, Pretty much with Gary, it's all a friendship thing, because I'm not on the hustle anymore, right? I 20
just
years
enjoying everything.
I haven't had to work. I've been just fine. So for me, it's just a thing that I'm not trying to make money. I don't need to make money anymore. And
living your life.
So I guess what?
You're living your life over there, Gary.
Yeah.
You're living your life.
Enjoying retirement.
Well, I worked hard. My whole life, and so I earned it.
Yeah.
Now a lot of my, I would say probably 20-30% of my net worth is in Pokemon, although I never sell anything, so it doesn't matter, so.
Well, I saw that $21 million listing on eBay, Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's not worth that.
Yeah.
But I did that. It's probably about 10 million. But I just put that because I don't want to sell them, and no one's going to offer double market, for anything.
For sure. No, it's good promotion for it, and
just
shows
trying
your
to
love for
promote
Metazoo. Yeah.
Like when I went on Pawn Stars, I wasn't intending to sell, those 120 cards. Yeah. But I knew that it would attract a lot of attention for Pokemon, and it was right after Pokemon Go came out, so I knew that would pile on top, and it sure worked.
Pokemon Go just was like a crazy phenomenon for Pokemon, and I still play occasionally from time to time. My girlfriend still plays from time to time.
Yeah.
In Asia, it's crazy. It's like it's still going really hard. Like, doesn't matter what age you are. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're like 5 years old or if you're 80 years old. It's like,
Right.
it's still everywhere. Literally, like you go on the buses, people are still going to raids. Like I remember when I went to Taiwan, it was like still a big thing. But Asia is more acceptable, I guess, of anime culture there still.
Right.
But it's getting more here as well. Like I went to like Dollarama, like the dollar store here, and they were selling like My Hero Academia and other stuff. So I saw
Wouldn't
hope for
that be
Metazoo.
awesome if they did a Metazoo Go? Where you're searching for
cool.
Yeah, catch the crypt. Oh, exclusive cryptids, depending on where they're known.
You gotta go where they're, you gotta go to Loveland in order for you to get the Loveland Frogman.
Right.
Yeah. Ooh, Nick.
You and your Loveland Frogman. Well, turns
yeah.
out that's probably that might be one of the top 3 coolest of all the characters.
Oh, I love Loveland. Yes, that artwork is it's chef's kiss.
Yes. Do you have a sample Frogman?
I do not have a sample.
You gotta get one.
I do not have a sample Frogman, but eventually I will probably get one. Eventually, I probably will.
Yeah. I think there were 92 of them, so I think you're gonna they're gonna be around for a while.
Oh yeah. Nice. You want to go ahead?
No, I think you had something, right?
I can ask a question.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So you talked about the Collecticons, and that you are going to be at some Collecticons coming up, one in Chicago, and some spread around the United States.
I'm hoping to go to all 12 this year.
It's gonna be 12 of them. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I've been to 15 or 16 of the first 17. Wow. I missed one so far because there was a week after Dallas and I was too tired. Yeah. So I've been to, and I hope to go to all 12 this year. God willing, if I keep my energy up.
Well, if you're in Chicago, I'll come say hi to you.
I'll definitely be in Chicago. That's a lock. And I will be in Dallas this month, and I'll be in Los Angeles next month. And the Houston one after, I'm not sure, but I want to go to all of them if I can just hold up,
So when Metazoo was a very big prominent at the Collecticons, how was that experience? Can you explain it? Like, I know that there was so much. This is kind of part of the peak of Metazoo. How was that, seeing Metazoo unfold throughout the Collecticon's life cycle?
Well, the very first Collecticon, and I guess it was 2021 in what is the name of that part of that part near Dallas, not Fort Worth, but anyway, in Texas. The very first one I was involved in the ownership side. And I'm the one who got Mike and Metazoo to the show. I had a couple areas near my stage, where I would be on the stage. And a lot in that first year, that was along with Lee Steinfeld, Leon Hart, Real Breaking Nate, and we were all on stage for that. I think Danny Sanchez also. And I had a couple of spaces that I wanted to fill in next to the stage. So I was allowed to put anybody there I wanted to. Well, I talked to Michael. I said, we're starting this new convention. And I say, I'm a very little tiny owner in it, right? I'm not no big deal when it comes to Collecticon, but they do respect me, in my opinion. So I talked to Michael. I said, you really should come. It's the first convention, and I'll get a good space for you near the stage where I am. And then AGS, Automatic Grading Service, I got a space for. And then Nick, Old School Pokemon, and Gen Mint Pokemon, I got them a space on the other side of the stage. I just filled it in with friends, with people that I liked and I was supporting. That was the very first Collecticon. And so that went so well, Mike ended up going into as a sponsorship deal with Collecticon. So he was he made it to all the Collecticons after that. And they were all super successful. They were, some of those shows were terrific. And I'll tell you the truth, I believe Metazoo played a big part in the success of Collecticon. Plus, I think Collecticon played a big part in the success of Metazoo. It really was a mutual thing, but there's no question it was highly beneficial. So with Metazoo and all the Collecticons was nothing but a godsend for for both of them.
So for Metazoo, like they were like so huge in Collecticon, and it's like 2021, 2022 was all Metazoo. But there were, I guess, a few mishaps. We did talk a little bit about it earlier, but were there any specific things you thought that maybe Metazoo could have done a little better?
I know with Collecticons?
Well, I guess just in general, because I know you don't deal with more business side with Mike, Andy, or any of the staff. Mm-hmm. It's more personal, but like we all love Metazoo, right? Like, there are some things that we just thought, I guess, like for me, I thought that maybe the supply chain could be maybe a little bit better with all the delays and stuff like that, right? That could.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that I don't think that affected Collecticons at all. No. It certainly affected Metazoo's business, and but most of the Collecticon things were done with Texas Ted, and Texas Ted was absolutely amazing, with the work he did on those Collecticons.
Yeah, I think he means in general. Like, was there anything with Metazoo that, from the time that you first were involved with Metazoo until now, were there some things along the way that you feel like, they probably could have did a little bit better?
Oh, many things, sure. Oh, absolutely.
Maybe like a few of them that you can think of.
Yeah, well, like what I was saying, for any new startup businesses, boy, they're going to make mistakes, and especially when they're tackling areas that they don't have the expertise in. But I'll tell you something. Again, I'm a very positive person. I'm shocked at how well they did, with all those things, considering their experience and expertise in it. I mean, I'm shocked it went so well. Just look at all the other startups that came out those same years. I mean, none of them did anything. None of them could get any traction, and yet Metazoo accomplished a whole lot in that. Now, could things have been done differently? Oh, absolutely. I think they released too much product. I don't think they had to release that much, but Mike wanted to make sure that everybody got them, and that the stores would sell them. Setting spending limits on things. I'm not sure that's a great idea. I did have a collectible shop, but I wasn't in that kind of a business, so it's not like I know anything about it, but certainly I think they quantities of product were too much. I think the numbers, the different numbers of things they were into, they were biting off more than they probably should have, because it takes a lot of work, all those different things that are happening. And then the supply chain things, they're still a mess. I talk to my business owners, friends all the time. They're still a mess, with people trying to get product in from overseas. And then other things that they might have done wrong. I mean, they tried to hire me. That probably would have been a good idea if I would have done that for
100%.
Because I have had that experience.
Do that, Mike. You'd be hiring Gary.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Well, he tried. He actually sat me down a number of times and wanted me to get involved. But I've worked for 55 years, and I'm done with that. I don't want to punch
not the right time
anymore.
Yeah.
But he did try. He cared so much about his passion was so high for it that he probably should have trusted, more people than he did. He wanted to do a lot of it himself because he didn't want anybody else to mess it up. He didn't want other people. He didn't want, because he cared so much, he didn't want people saying, bad things about it. That sometimes you just got to let things roll off your shoulder. Just let them go. They're no big deal. These people mean nothing. They're not gonna. They're holding themselves back by trying to be mean to everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I say is agree to disagree.
Yeah, right. Now he should have learned to. He should have been, he maybe don't pay attention to what these people were saying all along and banning people. Probably shouldn't have done that. It's just that he cared so much. So,
Included.
you can call that a fault, but in a lot of positions, that's not a fault. In a lot of positions, that's, you want somebody like that. You want somebody that devoted and
very passionate about it.
Yeah, if I could hire any of the people in Metazoo, I would hire Michael and Ted, myself, and put them in the right, spots, because these are great hard workers and that are passionate about what they're doing. So
I think the Discord was probably a mistake.
You know what? I think I'm on the Discord, right? But I don't think I've signed into it more than maybe 3-4 times or something in years. I'm excuse me. I'm not in fact, I'm not exactly 100% sure what Discords are or what they do or anything, except I did sign in a couple times, because I was linked to it or asked to, or something like that. But I'm not active on that, and so I can imagine. I know it's where your community gets together and they can freely speak their minds about stuff, right? Is that kind of what it is? No, I mean that's what it's supposed to be.
Oh, it's for yes, yeah.
Yeah.
You get people.
I know that there were people in the hobby that got thrown out, because they, I don't know how much they deserved it, but I've learned,
some people deserved it.
Yeah, some people just deserved it because they'll say really mean things. And I think that's why I say the Discord was a problem, because you just have people talking too much about their feelings onto a screen. Between me and you, if you were standing right in front of me, I'm going to give you all that respect. And, if Mike was standing right in front of me, I'm going to talk to you just how I'll talk to you on the internet. And I think a lot of these people, they start to put their inner anger and inner problems involved with Metazoo or other hobbies, Pokemon and stuff like that. And that was the problem here. I think people were they were trigger happy, they were just kind of like, oh, blah, 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 and they wanted to like talk about their feelings. I think it brings me to the next point that I think Metazoo should have probably had like a PR team. And you mentioned like, they're probably not PR, they probably didn't study PR and stuff like that. If they had somebody that was in PR, I think it might have benefited them just a little bit. You have somebody who's trained, they can communicate, they can pretty much get the point across pretty easily to people. And Metazoo doesn't have to worry about all of this problems. They can just go hard at work. Mike can be in the background making lore and all of the cards like he usually does. And whenever something's ready, he can just put it right out and people will get really excited about it. But when you're on Discord and you're putting it here, people start to kind of, I don't know, it feels like that suspense, that surprise starts to dwindle just a little bit. And I think if you would have just maybe pulled back earlier from that, I think it would have helped him a little bit better. He would have been able to just kind of like, he would have been really excited, I think. And the excitement would just continued, I think, if you would have if you would have done it that way.
No, I think that's very well said. Absolutely. I totally understand and agree with that. We all have our niches, right?
Yep.
And I mean, there's a lot of positions you wouldn't want to put me into, right? So, no, but I like the way you put that. That's true.
Yeah.
You wanna? Are you next?
Yeah. I guess that's part of the reason why Metazoo is where it is now. But do you see anything specifically, I guess, aside, I guess, inclusive of another company kind of obtaining Metazoo, can like Metazoo really gain back to their like former glory type of situation? Or because you've been involved in a lot of like past TCG, well, just like TCGs that didn't last for too long, like, but did they ever get a resurgence, or is it like a possibility or higher
Yeah,
possibility?
several did. Several had resurgences a couple years later. I think that with Metazoo, because it's such a tremendous franchise, the idea behind it is so strong that I think it deserves a resurgence, no question about it. And will it? Well, I think so, and I hope so. Right. So, but that's just me. I guess I'm an incorrigible optimist, in that I just really believe that. Plus, I want it to happen. I want it to happen. Yeah. Because this stuff is too much fun. All this. All this Metazoo. Boy, if you were at my house, you'd fall over if you saw my cryptid stuff.
Yeah. No, don't worry. You're in good company here. Like we all have like,
yeah,
literally like my wall. There's like the uncut sheet for Kickstarter and stuff. Yeah, my wife even tells me like I should maybe not have too much Metazoo stuff around. But no.
So does my girlfriend. But I know we get into rumors and speculation. Everybody can speculate about things. Nobody's ever going to really know until Metazoo actually comes forward and actually says things, right? So I know that you talk to Mike, and maybe you don't talk to him about business-related stuff, but you are very passionate about Metazoo. Has he mentioned, they're thinking about selling it to Bandai? That's a rumor that's been going around. Or is there some other things that are in the works that maybe people can maybe hold on to for the time being?
Yeah, he never mentioned any company by name, but he did say there are things happening behind the scenes. Yes. Okay. But without the specifics. I never heard him say Bandai or whatever. Although he didn't sound against it. He wasn't opposed to it. So, and there is something happening behind the scenes, 100%. So, but I don't know the specifics. I wish I could. I dug a little bit, but I guess for a good reason, he didn't, I couldn't get any specifics out of him. But I really didn't try that hard either. I asked him a few things that I wanted to know, just out of curiosity. But
okay.
But I can safely say that, he did say there are things happening behind the scenes.
There are things related to selling the company, or is it just like them maybe starting over?
Yeah, relating, I think, to selling, to somebody, and yeah.
Okay.
So, but now that's not going to happen, and then I'm going to look bad. But I'm just saying, I'm just saying what I know. And
it may happen, it may not. We don't know.
And wishful thinking.
Only time will tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's listening, like, don't take our word for it. When Metazoo says they want to go ahead and say something,
yeah, they'll do it in their own time. Yeah.
They'll probably put it on Instagram. So there's just a lot of rumors out there, and people are a little upset about them, right? You've heard things, and people going on 4chan. I don't know what 4chan is. But people are just saying things and saying rude things. And I really want to hear from you, because you are a bit more positive, right? And you could just knock it right out. You could just be like, no, that's not happening, dude.
If you look at all the videos, all you see is dead. Yeah. I don't buy it. I don't
myself. I put a video out saying that.
Same here.
Yeah. But it catches eyes, but I don't buy it. That I mean, I think if somebody would put out a video, saying, Metazoo's back in the title, I mean, you'd have your biggest view day.
I have a title, Metazoo Undead, but
yeah, okay, yeah,
but
the undead.
I think it's mainly related to Mike's letter of January 29th, like saying it seems a bit more like an emotional letter than anything. Like I can feel the passion through it, and it was just really surprising. And it's just, I think that's just what sparked everything, right? Like I'm very objective with MetaZoo usually, but that's
and then
why
they took it down. Yeah,
they took it down, exactly. Yeah,
I didn't know anything about it. I was doing something else, and I got a text from Darian Bruzon, D Bruce,
yeah.
you know, saying, "Did you see this?" And that's the first time I saw it. You know, so I knew nothing about it beforehand. In fact, just 3 days earlier, he sent me a case of Metazoo, something I wanted for the kids, you know, through the distributor. So just a few days beforehand, you know, he did that, you know, overnighted something to me, you know, so.
Is it because
just two or 3 days later, all of a sudden that letter came? Total surprise. Yeah, surprise to me.
So I did see, you know, Mike has his own, like, his like personal like Instagram. He said he was like stepping away from the internet for a little bit. And was there just something that was kind of like irking him? You know, was there just something that was kind of like maybe a hard decisions that maybe needed to happen behind the scenes that maybe he told you or expressed to you in some way?
No, he never even said. I mean, I know him well enough to know that, you know, that he's trying to put on a you know, like he's not, you know, that concerned in that, but he's very concerned. It's, you know, his bubble is bursting, and his dream is suffering, and you know, I know that's not going to bother very many people. They probably wish he was dead. You know, it's ridiculous.
Never say that.
But
That's not good for them to think that, you know.
Yeah, but believe me, you know. I just want. I mean, if I could just snap my fingers, I would want you know, Metazoo to carry on through a major company, you know, that has their, you know, the supply chain, everything all in place, and, you know, run by true professionals, and then get all the people that are owed, you know, money for tournament play, or owed you know, product or refunds, that this company is able to do that, and then the healing can start. I think as long as, you know, people are hurting so much, you know, a lot of people that don't have much money are hurting because they ordered stuff, and that, you know, until they're made whole, there's going to be a lot of hard feedback. There won't be any healing. So, you know, my wish would be that occurs, and
I agree.
You know, and go from there. Yeah.
What is your future plans in the TCG space now that MetaZoo is either, maybe they're closing, maybe they might come back, maybe they might sell? I know that you're doing collecticons. Is there anything? Do you have anything coming up that you are interested in?
Okay. Well, between Pokemon and MetaZoo, I didn't have much interest. You know, I didn't have major interest in anything. I liked a little bit Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball Z, and, you know, some of the games that came out. I supported all the new people with their card games because I want them to succeed, but not from my heart. You know, not because I have a personal interest or would be interested personally. So between Pokemon in 1998, when I was involved in the Japanese side of Pokemon, and MetaZoo now, there was nothing in between, you know, that would compare to my feelings about Pokemon and then MetaZoo. Is there anything in the future? I don't know. You know, One Piece isn't bad, not great. Lorcana is not bad. You know, I think Lorcana needs some better people involved, you know, in the creation and then the way they roll it out. there's stuff out there, but nothing that makes me excited at all. There was nothing after Pokemon until Metazoo, and now I don't know what it would take. Because now I'm kind of winding down. I have my own. The older you get health issues and stuff like that, and so your attention wanes a bit, and you don't have as many tomorrows to think about. And so Metazoo could end up being my last passion, in these hobbies, and I really don't want it to end.
Me either.
Yeah,
Me
and
either,
neither
Gary.
do us. Yeah, and like that's part of the thing about so my channel is initially about like Metazoo news updates and their announcements,
I
and
know.
now it's kind of more like it's like I don't even really want to go to any of TCG. I just want to keep talking, reporting about Metazoo, even like wherever
Right.
it goes. It's just that feeling. I think we all feel it here.
Yeah, I think so.
I want to just thank you, Gary, for taking your time.
Oh, sure.
I really appreciate you dedicating a little bit of time for us. We're going to be kind of hard at work with this.
Yeah.
We've reached out to a lot of different people, Argos, Epic 2,
Yeah.
a lot of people within the community that were going to be involved with us.
Nick is going to help you out.
Nick's gonna help us out. I reached out.
He's a good guy. Argos has been a strong supporter of Metazoo. Nick just has a great disposition. Kind of his dry delivery. I really like him. He's fun to watch.
He's a great guy, and we'll definitely have an interview with him. And we're gonna kind of consolidate everything. I'll probably add like different animations and things involved of Metazoo, and you'll probably just be within there because you are a big part of Metazoo. And we're glad you're the first person that we're interviewing. So we're again, just thank you so much for taking your time.
Oh, it's more than a pleasure. If there's anything else I can do down the road, just let me know. And I really respect somebody who knows how to do those graphics and stuff. So I can imagine how cool that's going to look.
My first time, so it's going to be a little fun to just kind of.
Really?
Yeah, it's my first time. So it's my first. I'm going to try to like dive deep into it,
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, I was trying to do a YouTube video 2 days ago. I couldn't get the volume to work. So I'm the worst. When I was born, there were no television sets. There was one house on the block with a TV, and all the kids would go to peek in their windows to see that TV set. That's when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and so I'm no tech genius. So I really appreciate it when people know how to make all that stuff happen. I've never made a video with a picture-in-picture. Like I can see myself. I don't even know how to do that. So one take Gary, they call me. And it's only because it's all I know. I don't know how to do anything else.
To be honest, it is pretty confusing. Like there's so many different programs you can use, and there's limitations on certain programs. It's just, yeah.
But hey, thanks for asking me to do it. And again, I will, help you in any way I can. I come on a lot of channels, some channels that are brand new that are just starting up. I just, at this stage of my life, I just like helping and supporting, people that are doing things they enjoy. I get enjoyment out of that. So thanks for asking me to do it.
Where can we find you? Where can people kind of reach out to Gary or to see your guys? Follow you pretty much. Where can people follow you?
On YouTube, I don't do a lot. I think I've done 2 videos this year. I mean, in the last year, I don't do a lot. But I think some are pretty cool to watch. And that's King Pokemon on YouTube. And then on Instagram, I have a big channel, Real King Pokemon, that I've done for several years, quite a few years. And then on King Metazoo, also. So on Instagram. So those 2 on Instagram, King Pokemon on YouTube.
All right. I'm going to end this.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.